Hey friends, welcome to my channel SLT Learning, and this is Ankit Prajapati, and I am back with the most important questions that you need to make sure when you give an interview or when you are documenting that part in your resume. I come up with these questions because many of my students was asking same thing, and when I took the interview for the QA, mainly for fresher, right, who has taken a training from some institute or somewhere, they always struggle to explain their project, right? So I would like to tell you something about how you should prepare for these questions, because introduction that we have already seen how you can prepare about your introduction and all those things, but this is the key things that when you introduce yourself you can also speak about your project little bit. But any company, even though if you have taken a training or certifications, in interview they will definitely ask you, okay, can you explain your project, what was you have done in your training project or your recent experience. So this video is for the person who wants to know how to explain. If you are a non-technical or sorry or from a non-IT background, you can still watch this video. This could be very helpful to give an interview in a QA testing site. So let's begin with the few of the things that you need to keep in mind when you explain your project, right? So first of all, speak about type of project you have, right? Then technology, because sometimes you only just says, okay, this is web based application, but no, you should also speak in which technology you have like your team has built this project. That will give the like good impressions that you know the bit of technology as well. Domain of project is very much important, because from there they want to know, okay, in which domain you have the knowledge, like banking domain or anything. We will talk in this in detail of these topics as well. Then talk about the project team, right? So how many team member you have in your project and all those things. Then what is your team, like QA team, right? So how many members you have in your QA team, and how you work internally as a part of the QA team. Then talk about your roles and responsibility in a team, right? And few things is very much important that we're going to discuss in this video, and I will just go through these presentations, and but that will make everything sense to you. So let's we go to the type of project, right? So first of all, always pick up the type of project. So when you introduce your project to the interviewer, right, or in a resume, always mention like I work on this XYZ project. It was the web based application. So they will come to know, okay, he has a knowledge, or he has a I will just say the experience in web based testing. If it is a Windows based project, mention the Windows based project. But as of now, in as per the my experience, right, most of the company will prefer in your resume should have web based application, mobile application, and API project, because nowadays many company hire the people for API testing only, right? Because the API is too much in demand, and most of the application now when they develop, they first develop the API. So speak about API, mobile based and web based application more. You can also speak about window based application if you really have the experience in that particular side. But web based, mobile based, and API will get your done work done on an interview and in your resume. So once you will decide, right, which kind of project you want to mention in your resume, the second things you need to put the technology, right? So now when you talk about like a project, let's suppose if I'm saying I was working in a healthcare project, right? It was developed in a Java, right? And the backend was the Oracle database. So something like that way, just structureize your statement, right? Write down your statement in that way. Like I was working in a healthcare based application, which was the web based application, and it also has the mobile variant for the patient and a doctor, right? So the front end technology was used the HTML and the bootstrap, something like that way, right? The backend was like I will just say is a spring boot or something like that way. Just use this terminology, right? So even though you are a QA manual, right, the people who is taking the interview will have the impression, okay, he know the technology, right? So he know like the programming language, database, API testing, and API side, and all those things. When you explain your project, right, always just says programming language, database, and API. So in this project we have a REST API, and for that we used Postman to testing. So similar way you can just structureize 2 to 3 line about the technology used in your project. So far we have done with the type of project and the technology we use in our project. Okay, so this is very much important information when you document in your resume or when you speak in an interview. So just document everything and then try to remember those things, and you can just speak and get the confidence in this particular area of explaining the project. Then the next thing will come about domain of the application or domain of the project, right? So there are many, I will just say the tutorial available if you want to go in detail for each and every domain nowadays, because you can just search the healthcare domain project, right? And then you can just search for the e-commerce. So when you say domain, right, always remember the few of the importance module of that particular domain. So let's suppose if I'm talking about the healthcare, right? So I have to know like there would be the patient record module or lab module or prescription module. If I'm talking about PLM, right, or SAP, then I should be know about part management, bomb management, and packaging and all those things. E-commerce, that we all know, order management, inventory management. So I will just say always speak like healthcare, banking, or PLM, right? PLM SEP, why? Because if you're like giving the interview for a TCS, Wipro, or Honeywell or Siemens, those kind of big client, right? Then if you just say in my training course, I have taken a practical on PLM or SEP related system, and if you speak about this module, they will really get impressed. You got my point. So that is the reason. Learn about product life cycle and how the product life cycle management work, how this, what are the different modules of SAP, right? Why I'm saying you need to remember this module, because the next question they may be asked, what in which module you have worked, right? So they want to know in which module you have to work. So in the next slide I will give you the more information about those things, but pick up the domain, read the few of the test cases, like test cases on healthcare, test cases on e-commerce. You can google this these keywords, and you will need to remember at least 10 test cases, not everything. If you remember 10 test cases, that will give you the confidence, right? And just pick up only two domain, do not pick everything, just pick up two domain, right? Whichever you feel comfortable, which you have done in your training, right? Always pick up this domain. Then pick up this imp things. Why? Because most of the interview they will ask these things, right? And if you mention few things in your resume, right, that will also very good. Like I work on a healthcare domain and I was working with the patient or prescription management system, something like that way. So always remember the test scenario of your project, because interview will definitely ask at the fresher level, okay, if you're working on healthcare, right, on which module you are working. So first remember the module. Now when you pick up the module, then have a couple of test cases of that module. So if suppose I am working on a payment gateway, right, if I just google the payment gateway related test cases, I will get lots of tutorial. I have to just pick up 10 to 15 test cases, more than enough. Okay, then test scenario, test cases. So based on the test scenario, just map the test cases. So suppose if I am taking about positive test scenario of payment gateway, then prepare the test cases for that one. Why I'm just saying prepare the test cases for yourself, because when you prepare the test cases, you know which are the key sections we have in a test cases, right? Like this way, when I was training to my candidate, I asked them to remember this test case id, description, test data we normally use, right? Then step id, step description, expected result, actual result, and what is the overall result over here, pass, fail, not executed, superseded, something like that way. To prepare yourself with these test cases based on the test scenario for your module, for your project, and for your domain. This is how you want to link your explanation, right? When you speak about project, this is how you need to link your explanation. When you speak about module, right, then always try to collect 3 to 4 bugs in your mind. Okay, why I am saying bugs? Because if they will ask you, okay, you are working on payment gateway module, right? So what was the recent bug you found? So this is the reason. This is very much important to have 3 to 4 bugs in your mind. Okay, and how to raise a bug, what is bug life cycle, I have a separate video very well explained, so you can refer those video. That will help you a lot. When you speak about bug, then these two things always keep in mind: severity and priority. Okay, because the interviewer will definitely ask about this one: what is severity, what is the difference between them, can you give me the example of high severity and low priority? So have that example in your mind, because that will definitely come at a fresher level. They wants to know if you know this basic or not. Okay, so always remember these things. Then challenge they normally ask, mostly for a fresher they will not ask in that much detail, but if they will ask, always give a one example. Normally give the communication example, like when I was working on one module, right, the developer has implemented few changes without informing the QA team, and when we execute our test cases, the new buttons was there in a screen, so the test cases start failing. So what is the end purpose of this one? Communication give a gap between the team. So customer ask for the change, developer implement the change without informing the BA or QA. So what will happen when you have a build with that new changes? Your existing test cases will fail, right? So that was the challenge we faced many times, right? So how you overcome? What suggestion you give to the team? So we give a team a suggestion whenever any change like customer wants to implement, they have to log a Jira. So we have created one login for customer. So whenever they have new changes in existing functionality, they will raise a Jira, and when the customer raises Jira, the automated email will go to the each and every department, and based on that they can track the status. So QA will also be remain informed. This is the things they want to make sure, and they need to update their test cases. So these are the very much important things you need to keep in your mind for your project, right? Test scenario, couple of test cases, then 3 to 4 bugs based on severity and priority. Okay, so this will really help you in your interview. Now they will ask you, okay, what is your project team, right? Let's suppose if you are working as a training or you are doing a certification, then you can also say, see, guys, you are taking training from any institute. Do not say, okay, that institute did not give us enough training or enough knowledge. Always says, I got wonderful knowledge from that this XYZ institute, and they give me really good training. Okay, so that will give an impression to the interview. You know the things very well. Okay, so always says we have a demo team in our training or in certifications where we have a role of project manager, BA, developer, designer, QA tester, cloud engineer, and technical support engineer. Normally, when they will ask you about your team size, always says 10 to 15 people, and you can just say number of count. You can see on a screen. If developer are 4 to 8, then you can just say designer are 2 to 3, QA tester are 2 to 3. When we talk about QA, right, always make sure you just talk about manual and automation separately. Okay, as of now, because we want to differentiate between the manual tester and automation tester. So if they will ask you what is your project team size, right? Or if you're working somewhere, right, you can just say, yeah, we have onshore offshore model where we have our project manager like based in US or UK, and he give us the instruction everything that we need to do, and we are offshore team, we are working from India like Bangalore or Hyderabad, something like that way. So that will also give a good impression in an interview. Okay, so after explaining your team, you need to explain your QA team in a project. So you just say, yeah, in our QA team we are three members, two mainly focus on automation and one mainly focus on manual tester. Now always says the manual tester that person is doing is more senior. He know the functionality very well. So when he finish the manual test case designing, then we will do the review, and that particular manual test cases go to the automation side. Okay, so explain your team in the project like this way, like 2 to 3 QA member. Always give the QA automation number high, because that required more effort than the manual tester. So always speak like this way. If you're saying 5 members, then just says 3 in automation and 2 in a manual testing. Okay, after that they will ask you, okay, what is your roles and responsibility in your project, right? So always speak like this way. So as a training project, right, I normally do the requirement analysis from SRS and business requirement document. I go through the requirement to understand how I need to prepare my test scenario, right? And once I will understand the requirement, if I have any doubts, I talk to the developer, I talk to the project manager to clear my doubts, right? And once I understood the requirement, I think about the test scenario, the positive negative scenario, and everything I will take check, and I will document those test scenario. And once I have a test scenario, based on the test scenario I start writing the test cases, right? So each and every requirement I will have a test cases and I will map them in a requirement traceability matrix. So guys, if you are not aware about these topics, I have recently uploaded these 11 videos, right? You see this QA manual crash training.
different
So this is
architecture,
my
right?
real time training that I given to the candidate. You can just go through each and every topic like sanity testing, smoke
Right.
testing, performance testing. So everything
So
I
in
have
so
explained in a
far we
detail,
have
right?
discussed
So
many.
just go through this one and this will help you to understand how to prepare the test data and test scenario and everything. Okay. So just go through this one, that will really help you, and that is available in my channel SLT Learning. So you can just go through that particular part. Okay. So after that, you just says once I write the test cases, I normally go and execute the test cases, right? So whenever developer give me the build, okay, then we will execute the manual or automation test cases, and we raise a bug. When we raise a bug, so what information you need to keep in mind when you raise a bug? That you also need to aware like what is a bug life cycle, what information you put when you raise a bug. Then after raising a bug, we track the bug till it get resolved. We coordinate with the other team member and we give the demo to the other QA member to become a module expert. Because what is happening, let's suppose if you have a project, right, it has 6 to 7 modules, right, and you are a 2 QA member, then mainly the project manager or the developer expect the person who is working on couple of module will only focus on those module, right? So suppose if I am working in e-commerce, right, I will only focus on order management and inventory management, because that will give me the good understanding about that specific module, and another QA per person will focus on payment gateway and shipping management. So this is how always says I become the module owner of this particular module in my project, because I know each and every functionality of that specific module. That will give the good impression in term of this interview, right? When you speak this word module expert, okay, so I am a QA module expert. So if in future if new QA member join, or if existing QA member wants to know about that module, they will come to me and I will give them a explanation about the functionality. Okay. So this is how you can explain your role and responsibility, guys. And at the last, just make sure you summarize something by yourself for your project, right? I have summarized. This is normally I give to my candidate to use this one. So like the project, so I will just says currently I am involved in web-based application testing, which is about CSAT, customer satisfaction system. Whatever service we do with the customer, something like that, we speak about that particular project. Then just says currently we have developed 80% of work and we are working with Facebook review page to integrate with our application, something like that way it will look real to them, right? Just says this project has been developed in Java, and the backend we have MySQL, we have designed in HTML5. Currently I am working on customer and feedback module, you see. Speak about this one, currently I have work, or recently I have worked on this module in my training, right? I am working on customer grid. See, I am going in detail. I am working on customer grid where I have to see the count of number of requests. So if you go in such detail when you explaining your project, then the interviewer will think you have a real experience. Okay. So module, then go to the functionality which you are working. My day-to-day involvement in project is about the test requirement and the understanding. And after understanding, I create a test data and all those things. If you are working on a automation side, there are many things you can speak about automation framework. I will create the separate video for that one, how the automation framework and all those things you can explain. But this is what you can prepare your explanation about your project. Just make 20 lines, benchmark it, speak about it, right? Document in your resume. I will definitely say is when you give the interview, that will create an impression. I always suggest the freshers mainly focus on their communication, and communication confidence you will only get when you know the things, right? So document those things. See, I even though I will also document these things. You see, explain your recent project. This is I normally give to my candidate. So this is how you can just explain your framework and everything. You can just document and speak when you give the interview. So hope you like this video. If you like this video, you can share with your friends who are struggling to learn about the project, right? And hope this video is useful to you. If you like this video, then please share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.